In this screencast, I'm going to walk you through assignment 1 and assignment 2 for Tinovation. So to start off, go to the browser of choice and go to the Facebook group and download the file that Akash posted a couple days ago. So download that and drag that somewhere where you can see it. I'm going to put it on my desktop. And just to let you guys know, so this folder contains the two assignment files, a test.java file, the notes from the last meeting, and just a text file with the link to how to set up your ADT bundle. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, so given that, go ahead and load up Eclipse, and if you do not know how to install it, please follow the link inside that folder that you just downloaded. So load up the ADT bundle, or Eclipse actually. And as I said in the previous video, the workspace is where all your files are stored, and I already have something set up in my home folder, and you can set it up however you like. Okay, so now that it's loaded up, I'm going to show you how to make your new assignment. So first, go to File, New Java Project, and call it Assignments 1 and 2. And we're going to import the two Java files that came in that folder into this Java project. So go into your folder, select assignment 1 and assignment 2, click and drag those and drop them into the source folder here, and copy the files, don't link them. So now inside our source folder, our assignment 1 and assignment 2, alright, so now we're just going to go ahead and dive off into the assignment. Keep in mind that this video is just to show you the answers, and you guys should definitely try this on your own, and if you're having trouble, then you should get help from this video. So we're going to start off in assignment 1.java, and we're going to do the first method. So as you remember from last meeting, this int at the beginning means this function is returning an int. Also at the meeting we mentioned at the beginning of every method you should have private or public. In this case we've left it out because you don't really need it, but just remember that this int right here means that this function has to return an int value, and remember that this method is representing the function x squared plus 2x plus 1. So just like in math every function returns an int, we're just specifying here that this function returns an int. Like if I change this to return true, this would not work because you cannot convert a boolean to an integer. So I'm just going to keep it in as a -1 for now, and we're going to actually just fill in this method. So we're going to take the value x, actually we're just going to return this whole thing, take the value x, square it, that'll represent x squared, add it to 2 times x, and add 1 semicolon. Alright, so moving on to the second method here, it's very similar to the first one. We're just going to return x times x times x to represent x cubed plus 8 times x plus 4. And that's it for this method. Okay, now we're getting a little bit more interesting here. So we're going to make a circumference method, and we're going to calculate the circumference given the radius. Remember that this is a decimal value, so we need to return a double. Okay, so this is also relatively simple. So the circumference is 2 times the radius times pi, so we're going to return 2 times radius times 3.14. That's that method. And the radius, the area, is pi r squared. So we're going to return 3.14 times 14 times radius. It's pi times radius squared. Okay, moving on. So now we need to convert from inches to centimeters. So the conversion is actually 2.54 centimeters per inch. So all we need to do is take the inches given and multiply by that factor. Okay, and for this one, it's very similar, except it's just the opposite. We're just going to divide. So return centimeters divided by 2.54. Remember, these are all returning doubles because they all have decimal values. If I change this to int, there would be a loss of precision. And there's an error, of course. Alright, so now we're going to do the challenge, which says that you should write a method to convert from feet to meters using the methods that we have just written, which is the inches to centimeters and centimeters to inches. And the method stub is not provided, so we're going to start off with making the method stub. So we're going to return a double value. I'm going to call it feet to meter, and you pass in the amount of feet you want. Okay, so remembering that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, we can actually call the inches to centimeters and just multiply our feet by 12. That's going to give us how many inches there are, or sorry, that's actually going to give us how many centimeters we have in our foot, and then we're going to multiply that by 100. That'll give us how many meters there are, and we're going to finally return this value. Alright, so we're going to quickly check our answers for assignment 1. So we're going to go up, and we're going to press the play button to run the program, and it's going to say we have an error because we haven't finished assignment 2 yet, but that's fine, just proceed with that. It's going to run our program and it's going to show the output. So it says f of x works, circumference works, and area works, and g of x actually doesn't work, and I'm going to show you why. Because Rishi wrote the test cases late, and this should be g of 0 if you evaluate x cubed plus 8x plus 4 is actually 4, not 8. So that's an valid test case. And now if we run it, press OK, proceed with the errors, we'll see that g of x works now also. So just that one test case is messed up, and sorry about that. Alright, so moving on to problem 2, it says given two ints a and b, return true if one of them is 10 or if their sum is 10. So the key here is there are actually two cases. So it says return true if one of them is 10, that's the first case, or if their sum is 10, that's the second case. So we're going to break that up. So if we're going to have our first case in these parentheses, second case in those. So if one of them is 10, so if int a equals 10, or if b equals 10, and then we have an or here because that translates to this or. It says or if their sum is 10, so if a plus b equals 10. If we do that, we want to return true. And also, one more thing, you don't actually need the braces, the curly braces, if you have one line under the if statement, so I can delete these. But if I had another statement like int a equals 5, then I would need these to keep the statements in. So if this stuff is here, then return true, else we're going to return false. And yeah, that's the end of this method. So moving on to the next one. Given two temperatures, return true if one is less than 0 and the other is greater than 100. So the key here is it's going to be an AND case, because it says AND here. So if temperature 1 is less than 0 and temperature 2 is greater than 100, we want to return true, and else, if it doesn't fit that case, we return false. So if you don't have this last else return false here, you're going to get an error. And the reason is, if I entered in like temperature 1 as 5, temperature 1 wouldn't be less than 0, so this whole if statement would break. And there's no spot telling the program to return false, so it wouldn't return any value, and that's a problem with this method. So you need to have this part, or else it's not going to work. And yeah, that's the end of this assignment. Just make sure you don't have any errors. Feel free to ask questions on the Facebook group if you need help, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks.